Listen up, because this is a story about breaking free from the chains of family expectations and reclaiming your life. I'm Lauren Harper, 32, a graphic designer who carved out her own world in Chicago, a sleek apartment with a view of Lake Michigan, a thriving career at a top marketing firm, and friends who respect my boundaries. But just over a year ago, I nearly lost it all when my family tried to pull me back into a role I'd fought my whole life to escape. The dutiful daughter who sacrifices everything for everyone else. If you've ever felt suffocated by family obligations, stick around. This is how I broke free and built a life on my own terms. I grew up in Willow Creek, a tidy middle-class suburb just outside Detroit, in a picture-perfect colonial house with a manicured lawn and holiday decorations that won neighborhood contests. My parents, Susan and Robert Harper, raised me and my younger sister, Jessica, in a home that looked idyllic from the outside. But inside, the expectations were lopsided. From a young age, I was the responsible one. By 12, I was cooking dinner 4 nights a week, while Jessica, 3 years younger, was only asked to keep her room neat. When I questioned the unfairness, Mom would say, "Lauren, you're just better at handling responsibility. It's your gift." But it wasn't a gift. It was a burden I was forced to carry. Jessica, on the other hand, floated through life with freedom I could only dream of. She flitted between hobbies, ballet, painting, cheerleading, dropping each when it demanded effort, while our parents funded her every whim. Meanwhile, I juggled a 4.0 GPA and a part-time job at the local bookstore to save for college. My birthday gifts? Practical things like planners or interview outfits. Jessica's? Designer clothes and concert tickets. College is your way out, I told myself, and I made it happen, earning a partial scholarship to DePaul University in Chicago. Those 4 years were my first taste of freedom, making choices without justifying them, sleeping in without being called selfish, and building friendships with people who valued me for me, not for what I could do for them. After graduation, I landed a senior graphic designer role at a respected Chicago firm. By 32, I had a stylish 1-bedroom apartment, a career that fueled my creativity, and a life I'd built from scratch. I kept my family at arm's length, visiting Willow Creek only for major holidays, careful to protect the independence I'd fought so hard for. Then came the call that nearly unraveled everything. It was a chilly March evening when my phone lit up with Mom's number. I almost ignored it. Our last talk had ended with her lecturing me for spending Thanksgiving with friends in Colorado. But that nagging need for parental approval made me pick up. "Lauren, we need you home this weekend," she said, her voice a mix of urgency and authority. "It's a family matter." Pressed for details, she admitted Jessica, now 29, was 5 months pregnant, abandoned by her boyfriend of 8 months, a part-time musician, just come for a few days. Mom insisted, "You're still part of this family." That subtle guilt trip, implying my independence meant I was abandoning them, hit a familiar nerve. Despite my reservations, I agreed to drive down that Friday, worried for Jessica but determined to set limits. The 5-hour drive from Chicago to Michigan gave me time to steel myself. I rehearsed boundaries. I'd support Jessica, but I wouldn't take on her responsibilities. I'd listen, but I'd protect my life. I can't do that, but here's what I can offer. I practiced, pulling into the driveway of my childhood home. I noticed fresh flowers in the garden and a new coat of paint on the porch. My parents had been sprucing up the place, which felt oddly ominous. Mom greeted me with an overly warm hug before I could even shut the car door. "You're finally here," she exclaimed. Dad followed with a stiff pat on the shoulder. "Good to see you, kid. Grab your bag. Dinner's ready." Inside, the familiar scent of Mom's lavender air freshener hit me, but so did a sinking feeling. Jessica lounged on the living room couch, her baby bump visible under a loose sweater, scrolling through her phone. "Hey, sis," she said casually, as if I'd just popped by for coffee. Perfect timing. I'm starving. Her assumption that I was there to cater to her needs sent a warning signal through me. But I pushed it down, reminding myself to stay calm and stick to my boundaries. Dinner was Mom's classic comfort spread: meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and corn casserole. The conversation started innocently, my job, Chicago's weather, Dad's new golf buddies, but as Mom sliced into her homemade cherry pie, the mood shifted. Lauren, Dad began, his tone deliberate. We've been discussing the family situation. I braced myself. Jessica's pregnancy. You mean? I asked, noting how they avoided mentioning it directly. Even with her at the table. The whole picture. Mom chimed in, too casually. The baby, the house, our future as a family. Then came the bombshell. We think it makes sense for you to move back home for a while. Mom said. My stomach dropped. Move back? From Chicago? My career, my life is there. Dad waved a hand. Your design work can be done remotely these days. I corrected him sharply. It's a senior graphic design position I've spent years earning. It involves client meetings, team projects, and an office presence. Jessica sighed dramatically. It's not like you're curing cancer. Lauren, before I could snap back, Mom interjected. Family comes together in tough times. Jessica will need help when the baby arrives. I'm happy to visit and help when I can. I said, choosing my words carefully, but moving back isn't practical. Dad's eyes narrowed. We'll see, he said, as if my life was still up for debate. Then they insisted on showing me upstairs changes. My old bedroom, where I'd spent 18 years, was gone. In its place was a pastel blue nursery with a crib where my bed once stood. A changing table instead of my desk. And a rocking chair by new curtains. Where am I sleeping this weekend? I asked, stunned. The pull-out couch in the study. Mom replied brightly, as if it were a treat. You turned my room into a nursery without asking me? My voice was sharper than intended. You haven't lived here in years. Dad said dismissively. The space was just sitting empty. Jessica rolled her eyes. The baby needs a proper nursery. Lauren. The pieces clicked together. The nursery was next to Jessica's room. And they expected me to sleep in the cramped study with no privacy. Just off the noisy kitchen. My role wasn't as a sister or equal, it was as a live-in caregiver for Jessica's child. That night, on the lumpy pull-out couch, I lay awake, their plan crystallizing in my mind. They didn't just want my help, they wanted my entire life. The house I'd grown up in felt less like a home and more like a trap. Carefully designed to pull me back into a role I'd escaped years ago. But I wasn't the same obedient teenager anymore. I had a life worth protecting. And I wasn't about to let them take it from me. Picture this. A woman trapped in a web of family expectations. Her life unraveling under the weight of manipulation. Until one day she decides enough is enough. I'm Lauren Harper. And this is the story of how I broke free from a family that tried to steal my future and built a life that's mine alone. If you've ever felt like your dreams are being suffocated by those who claim to love you, this is for you. Stay with me. This tale of courage, betrayal, and triumph will keep you hooked. Back in Willow Creek, Michigan, I was cornered. My parents, Susan and Robert, and my sister Jessica had a plan to turn me into an unpaid nanny for Jessica's unborn child, forcing me to abandon my career and life in Chicago. They'd already transformed my childhood bedroom into a nursery, dismissed my job as something you can do anywhere, and started spreading word to neighbors that I was moving back permanently. Their tactics were relentless, guilt-tripping me with phrases like, family sacrifices for family, intercepting my friends' messages, even meddling with my Chicago landlord to sabotage my lease. They wanted me to believe my independence was selfish, that my life was less important than Jessica's needs. But I wasn't going down without a fight. Lying on the lumpy pull-out couch in their cramped study one sleepless night, I realized I was in a carefully constructed trap. My parents weren't just asking for help, they were orchestrating a takeover of my life. They'd even drafted a caregiver contract to legally bind me to childcare duties. All without my knowledge. The betrayal cut deep, but it also lit a fire in me. I was 32, not a child they could control. I had a career, a home, dreams, and I wasn't about to let them steal that. In the quiet darkness, I started planning my escape. By 4 a.m., I was on my laptop, screen angled away from the door, moving like a spy in my own family's house. First, I secured my lifeline, my job. I emailed my boss, Michael, with the subject, urgent, confidential call. He'd already noticed my work slipping under the strain of family chaos. And I needed to ensure I wouldn't lose the career I'd built. Next, I created a new email account my family couldn't trace and began transferring critical communications, bank statements, work files, personal contacts. I checked my accounts. Thankfully, my parents hadn't accessed them, though I found evidence of their snooping in my briefcase. My passport and financial documents had been moved, a chilling sign they were trying to control my options. Sleep was impossible. I cataloged essentials, my professional portfolio, grandmother's heirloom necklace, key documents. I couldn't pack everything without raising suspicion, so I prioritized what couldn't be replaced. By 5:30 a.m., I was dressed in a sharp blazer. Claiming I had a work presentation that required privacy, I might head to the library for better Wi-Fi. I told Mom, who nodded, pleased by my apparent compliance. Will you be back for dinner? I'm making your favorite pot roast. She said, wouldn't miss it. I lied, my heart pounding as I walked out the door. At a local coffee shop, I connected with Michael via video call. His face grew grim as I laid out the situation: the nursery, the guilt trips, the lease interference, the caregiver contract. Lauren, this isn't normal family behavior. This is coercive control, he said, validating the fear I'd been suppressing. I need to leave now. But I can't lose this job, it's my anchor. Michael's response was a lifeline. We're opening a Denver office. Client demand is growing there. Would you consider relocating? We can arrange temporary housing. Denver, a city my family would never suspect. Yes, I said, relief flooding me. Consider it done. Michael replied, HR will send paperwork to your new email. Take a week to settle. And we'll sort logistics when you're safe. Next, I called my best friend, Sarah, my college roommate who'd always had my back. I need a huge favor. And it's top secret. I began, outlining the nightmare and my escape plan. I need a place to crash for a few days before Denver. Somewhere they won't look. Sarah didn't hesitate. My apartment in Milwaukee is yours. Spare rooms ready. When are you coming? Tomorrow morning, I said. I'll tell them I'm running errands. But I'm not coming back. Sarah's voice softened. This is like a movie. Lauren, do you need me to drive down? No, I replied. I have to do this myself. But knowing I have a safe place means everything. With a destination secured, I tackled logistics. I found a storage unit near Sarah's place and reserved it online. I called my Chicago landlord, confirming my parents had no authority to end my lease, and hired a moving company to pack my apartment into storage until I settled in Denver. The trickiest part was deciding what to take from my parents' house without tipping them off. I needed a distraction. When Mom mentioned needing groceries, I volunteered eagerly. I also need some work supplies from the office store. I added, might take a while. Take your time, she said, handing me a long list. Your dad's not back till 6. Once out of sight, I moved fast. At a bank with no local branches, I opened a new account and transferred most of my funds, leaving just enough in my old one to avoid suspicion. I bought a prepaid phone as a backup, then made strategic stops: toiletries, basic clothes, a discreet suitcase. At a storage facility, I stashed these and items I'd quietly collected from the house over days: my portfolio, documents, a few sentimental keepsakes. Groceries were my final stop, chosen carefully to maintain the illusion of a normal family dinner. That evening, I played my role flawlessly. I helped Mom prep the pot roast, discussed baby names with Jessica, even feigned interest in nursery paint swatches. I suggested a family movie night, a rare move that delighted Mom. As we watched a light-hearted comedy, I memorized their faces, knowing this might be the last time I saw them for years. Later, I wrote a letter to Jessica, slipping it into her jewelry box for her to find after I was gone. I love you, I wrote, but I can't sacrifice my life for your choices. I hope you'll understand someday. It wasn't an apology, it was closure on my terms. Morning came, and my stomach churned with nerves. I dressed casually, grabbed my purse with my essentials, passport, new phone, documents, and announced I was heading to the bakery for breakfast pastries. Can you grab Dad's favorite blueberry muffins? Mom asked, still in her robe. And decaf for Jessica. Sure, I said, pausing at the door for one last look at the house that had become a prison. See you soon. The lie felt heavy, but the click of the door behind me was liberation. I left the house key on the passenger seat and drove straight for the interstate, heading to Milwaukee and freedom. 2 hours later, my phone started buzzing. Mom, Dad, Jessica, one after another. I let them go to voicemail. At a rest stop, I swapped my SIM card for the prepaid one, severing ties to my old life. By noon, I pulled into Sarah's Milwaukee apartment complex. She was waiting outside, her hug breaking the dam of emotions I'd held back. Tears came, big, ugly sobs releasing weeks of fear, anger, and betrayal. You're safe now, Sarah whispered, and you're not alone. For the first time in months, I believed it. 2 weeks later, I stood in a corporate apartment in Denver, unpacking essentials Sarah helped me ship from Milwaukee. The Rockies loomed outside my window, their vastness a reminder of the freedom I'd reclaimed. My company had been incredible, handling my transfer with discretion and even covering temporary housing. My new phone held only a few contacts: Sarah, Michael, and a therapist recommended by the Employee Assistance Program. My old number collected voicemails I wasn't ready to hear, though Sarah monitored it, reporting their escalating attempts to find me, threats of missing person reports, claims I'd had a breakdown. I laughed bitterly. Classic. When control fails, they rewrite the story. In Denver, I threw myself into work with a passion I hadn't felt in years. Free from family drama, my creativity soared, producing designs that earned praise from colleagues unaware of my past. I found a permanent apartment, a sunny one-bedroom with key fob entry and a doorman for security. I placed a fraud alert on my credit, knowing my parents had my personal details, and monitored my accounts obsessively. 3 weeks in, a certified letter arrived from Dad, dripping with manipulation. We're worried about your mental health. Abandoning your family shows a break from reality. Come home for treatment. I shared it with my therapist, Dr. Ellis, who pointed out its true intent: control, not concern. They don't ask if you're safe or happy, she noted. That tells you everything. She was right. I'd made the right choice. The harassment didn't stop. My parents posted on social media, painting me as unstable, prompting old acquaintances to search for me. I deactivated my accounts, building another wall between my past and present. 6 weeks after I left, Jessica had her baby, a girl, named Lauren Marie Harper. Sarah broke the news gently, but I saw through the tactic. Naming her after me was a guilt trip, not a tribute. It only strengthened my resolve. Then came the wellness check. My parents had tracked me to Denver, likely through work records. The police were polite, quickly satisfied I was fine. Your parents are concerned, one officer said. I'm an adult who relocated voluntarily. I replied, please tell them I'm safe but do not share my location. Afterward, I hired an attorney who sent a cease and desist letter, documenting their harassment, social media posts, calls to my employer, landlord interference. The letter warned of restraining orders and defamation lawsuits. Their response, through my lawyer, was outrage, but the tide was turning. Mom's posts stopped, calls slowed. They were finally losing their grip. 3 months into my Denver life, I was blooming. Morning hikes in the Rockies, pottery classes with new friends, weekend gallery visits. These small joys built a life that felt authentically mine. A cousin, Megan, reached out unexpectedly, recognizing my parents' controlling patterns from her own experience. If you want family who respects boundaries, I'm here, she wrote. Her support opened a door to a healthier family connection. 6 months after the birth, Jessica emailed my work address. Parenting's harder than I thought, she wrote. I think I get why you left. It wasn't an apology, but it was a start. With Dr. Ellis's guidance, I replied cautiously, wishing her well and opening a slim channel for communication. My parents, shaken by Dad's recent heart scare, sent a letter of their own. We may have been wrong, Mom wrote, admitting their expectations were unfair. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to start a tentative, boundary-heavy relationship. Video calls with strict time limits. Visits where I stayed in hotels. A year later, I stood on my Denver balcony, watching the sun dip behind the mountains. My apartment, filled with art and memories I'd chosen, was my sanctuary. My career had soared, award-winning campaigns, a promotion to creative director. My friends, my chosen family, valued me for who I was, not what I could do. The lesson wasn't just about escaping manipulation. It was about the difference between being needed and being valued. My family needed me as a resource. My new life was built on mutual respect. If you're watching this and feeling trapped by family expectations, hear me. Your dreams matter. Your time matters. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. You don't need permission to live your truth. Share your story in the comments. Have you ever had to choose between family and your own path? Hit like, subscribe, and let's spread this message. Freedom starts when you choose yourself.